get back to New York. I need to adjust time. Only in short bursts.
All right, we ready to roll?
Yaakov.
Yes, sir.
Chana bas Rav Naftali and Shmuel bas Chana bas Yeshua
The
Noach.
yahrzeit.
My grandparents tonight.
I know the tonight's the yahrzeit.
How do you know?
Because your uncle got maftir in yeshiva, right?
Right.
Oh, I wasn't in yeshiva, but I know. Okay,
It's 'cause you get all the news from us.
That's right. Nishal Zaban Ali, Nishal Muz Zaban Ali.
Yeah.
Can we also throw in Blimi? Was it Chana Blima Rachel Bas Chana Ella?
What's that? That's for what? Yahrzeit?
Laser's
Or
wife.
for Laser's wife.
Oh, Laser's wife. Oh, yeah, okay, Refuah Shalem. Yeah. Okay, so ready? So this next Mishnah seemingly, right? We got up to Chav Tes Amud Aleph before the internet went out last night. So the Mishnah Chav Tes Amud Aleph seemingly has no at least the first part has no shaykhs to doesn't seem to have any relevance. But okay, so let's see what the Mishnah has to say. For those that are very educated in Jewish music, this entire Mishnah is a song. I hope parrots will get it at least. Yeah. Okay, so Zog the Mishnah. Yisroel. So the pasuk says by the fight with Amalek, then when Moshe lifted up his hands, and then klal Yisroel did well, and then when he put his hands down, they weren't doing well in the war. So there you go, parrots. All right, parrots should sing the Mishnah for the oilam. Yeah, how many lechayim did you have already?
I didn't want to cheat, you know what I mean? I was gonna wait to see, but
Yeah.
I'm not like others that do the daf and then ask questions later on at the round 2 or 3.
Okay, well, you're right. We should just do it once and not know what we're talking about.
He's not on.
Give us all a chance to not know what we're talking about.
Anyway, it's a song. Does anybody know this song is from? It's an old song from like is it the 70s? Probably the 70s.
It's London. I think it's London School
of Jewish song. Yeah. Anyways, to the hands of Moshe make milchama or break milchama. Meaning, is it really Moshe's hands that are fighting the fight? Right? Whenever klal Yisrael is looking towards Hashem, and they mishabed their hearts, they say that they're going to be the avodim of Hashem, and they got better. And if not, then they would fall. Now, what does that have to do with Moshe's hands? So what? So when they looked at Moshe's hands, that made them. It must be that's what you have to say, right? When they looked at Moshe's hands or arms going up, so that told them to look to Hashem. The question is, why would Moshe lower his hands then? No. I'm saying
because it's hard to hold them up your whole life for hours.
No, I'm saying, but if he knows that that's keeping klal Yisrael on the up and up, so then why would he lower the hands? But I don't know. We need Rabbeinu Lachman for the Chumash. But anyways, similarly, Ato Aimer, right? So then it says by the when Moshe Rabbeinu made the snake, right, in order to heal everybody. So aseh lecha saraf v'sim oiseh al nes. So make yourself a saraf, right, which they say is a snake, but it doesn't necessarily mean it's a snake, right? V'sim oiseh al nes, and put it onto a nace onto a pole. Right? When anybody that got bit, if they wanted to be healed, I mean, they didn't were punished because they complained that they didn't, they complained about the money. Yeah. So then Hashem made them get bit up, and whoever wanted to, once they davened to do tshuva, so Hashem made this thing. I mean, he told Moshe to do it, and if the klal looked at it, then they would get better. Nachash memes, nachash mechayeh. Is the nachash the one killing, or the nachash making live? I mean, here now the Mishna says it is a snake. So it's interesting. They would get healed. And if not, then they would die. So it has nothing to do with the snake per se. It has to do with klal Yisroel looking towards towards Hashem. So he had said, Rabbi Raznik today said from the Meiri, that the reason why this Mishna is here is because we're in the middle of the sugi of having people in mind. Right, so the Meiri says that having people in mind, that's the sugis we're going to be doing it now, of being mitzi somebody. So that's really just in your head. That's really thoughts in your head. It's all tali and what's in your head. So that's why this Mishnah is teaching us here that even though it may look like Klal Yisrael is doing better when Moshe Rabbeinu lifted up his arms, but that's not what it is. It has to be in your heads that you're doing better, and then that's when Klal Yisrael does better. Fine. That is the agada for the night. Then now the Mishnah goes back to halachas of shofar. Cheres shoyta v'katan, right? So a deaf person and a shoyta, right, and a katan ein mitzi and a sarabim yidei chayvasan. They cannot be mitzi the rabbim with their chiyuv of shofar. Zeh klal. What's the rule? Anybody who's not mechuyev to do it can't be mitzi the rabbim with their chiyuv. Yeah. So let's see the Gemara. What are you saying?
When it comes to shechita, if they're supervised by someone who can watch what they're doing, the shechita is kosher. So why couldn't they be motzi someone with shofar if there's somebody with them watching that what they're doing is correct?
Well, is it the pshat because
chiyuv
we're afraid that?
to
What do you say?
There's no chiyuv to shech to be motzi somebody else. So if they shech,
There's no chiyuv. You're saying there's no chiyuv, right?
It's done properly.
Yeah, meaning right. So I think right. I hear what you're saying, doctor. Meaning what the doctor is saying is that by shechita we have to just make sure the shechita is done properly. That's it. So as long as there's supervision, that's fine. Here you have no idea what's going on in their head when they're blowing it. They may be blowing it not understanding that they're doing it for the mitzvah of shofar. They may think that they're doing it to make noise, or so there's no way to get inside their head. That's what I think. I think that's the pshat. But
is the pshat that maybe you have to be yotze in order to be yotze somebody else, and if you're not ever yotze by yourself, you can't be yotze somebody else? Meaning it's not that we don't know. It's just that since you're not yotze, you can't be yotze somebody else either. Anytime a cotton does,
yeah, but the question is why you're not yotze? Why you're not yotze?
Because he himself wasn't yotze. His mitzvah, it meant nothing.
I'm saying, but why? Because they're not capable.
Well, to know, the Torah says you're not yotze. If you're not mechayiv, you're not yotze. Stop. So you can't be yotze somebody else. Torah's not mechayiv you, so you're not yotze anything. Or if you're not mechayiv, you could be yotze anyways.
No, we saw in yesterday's daf that even if you're yotze, if you were potter b'shas that time, then you go back into a chiyuv, right? Like we said, like somebody who has
but that's when you go back to be mechayiv. You're still mechayiv then.
I think you wouldn't be yotze. You wouldn't if you're potter and you're yotze. You're not yotze, right? If you go into a new chiyuv, then you're gonna have to do it again. So
right. So I'm saying maybe that's the pshat. Since you're potter,
is incorrect.
So I'm saying stop.
So you blow shofar for somebody again? You're not. I mean, how does that work? Flowing from other people making kiddush.
That's the bottom of the daf. See, the music must have inspired you to the song was that's mamish the bottom of the daf.
Maybe he did daf.
I was more concerned about kiddush, not the shofar part. The kiddush.
Peretz probably sang this. Peretz probably sang this nigga 100 times in his life. So he did this stuff many times, David. He's in the same boat as you. Yeah. So I think we're saying the same thing, Akiva, that the reason why they're potter is because they don't have the das. You don't have the das, you certainly can't be mitzi somebody, right?
Right. Is it but is it pshat because you don't have the das or stam? You're not yaitse, so somebody else can't be yaitse something that you're not yaitse.
Okay, I can hear it. I can hear both ways. Okay. I'm not sure there's a difference, but that's what it is. That's what it is. The pshat is that they don't have the das even to be yaitse themselves. How can they be mitzi others? Okay, so let's see.
Right, but we said before when it comes to blowing shofar that somebody could be yaitse somebody else, even though he doesn't have das to be yaitse himself. He wasn't mechaven for other people. Stop, right? When it comes to there's a Machlokes tanaim regarding that.
But that's where he has das. It's just he just didn't know who he was being mitzi. He didn't know who was out there, right? Right there, he had das. He just didn't know who he's having in mind. Which we said, if you're doing the rabbin, you have everybody in mind. I don't know. I'm a little scared exactly what's going on through everybody's heads when they're being mitzi people, right? It's a little scary. Forget about the cheres shaitan katan. Forget about us adults, right? Do we really remember to have everybody in mind? And what's our kavanah by making kiddush? Kiddush is deraisa for the women, right? Unless they daven ma'ariv. Okay, so anyway, so let's see the Gemara. So Torah Hakol chayav b'tchiyas shofar. Everybody's chayav in shofar. Kahanim, Leviyim, Yisroelim, Gerim, Avodim, Mishuchrorim, freed slaves, Tumtum, Androgynous, Mishachatze. Right, Tumtum is one that has no simanim at all, no genitals at all. Androgynous has both. Mishachatze Ever v'chatze ben chayrin. Somebody who's a half slave. He had two owners, and one freed him and one didn't. Yeah, so these go all together. So Tumtum ain't a mitzi. So the Gemara says Tumtum ain't a mitzi loyas mina v'loyas she'ena mina. Tumtum can't be mitzi, not his own type, and not even a regular person, which is interesting because you think, okay, so let a Tumtum at least be mitzi another Tumtum. They're both in the same boat, right? But we're saying no, it doesn't work. It doesn't work. He's just not in the chiyuv. Maybe that answers what she sort of. Then maybe that says what Akiva's saying. Androgynous mitzi as minoi, and androgynous can be mitzi a minoi, avaloya she'ena minoi, but he can't be mitzi she'ena minoi.
Wait a minute, Tumtum can't be mitzi somebody who's b'minoi because there's a suffix on him, correct?
Correct. Well, because you don't know, he might be a female. You don't know, is he a female or a male?
How do you know? Why is he mechuyev b'chlal?
He's He's potter. I'm sorry. He's chayav, but he can't be mitzi somebody.
Why is he mechuyev at all? I'm asking.
Why not? He's a yid.
Women are mechuyev in shofar.
What do you mean? The Gemara just said everybody's mechuyev. Now the question is, can he have anybody in mind?
No. Noshim are potter because it's man groma, but
he's a suffix. So maybe he's a lady.
We don't know, but he's a suffix. He's a suffix.
So why should we? Is it?
I'm not. I would think that he's a suffix deraisa, so you got to be machmer, right?
So if it's a suffix deraisa, so why can't he be mitzi somebody else?
Because the problem is that he might be a female and his friend might be a male. I know for contemporary days, this doesn't sound like a very good conversation. Somebody on YouTube gets a hold of this, parents. I don't know. Right?
No, I'm saying
I'm going to have to change the status to mature audiences.
It's a suffix deraisa, so he should be able to be mitzi somebody else.
No, fakert. It could be very nice.
It's a suffix deraisa, so therefore he has to do it for himself.
Correct.
Right? So if it's
correct.
Why can't he? If he's a means we're machmer because it's a deraisa.
Right.
So
but he can't, like Rashi says, he can't be mitzi somebody else because it could very well be that he's a female, and the guy who's listening to him blow the shofar is a male, and memela, a female can't be mitzi. Right, but an androgynous who has both, he's both a male and a female, he is allowed to be mitzi, somebody of his type. Why?
Why
Because
would
we're
there be a
Moshe.
difference? Why would there be a difference on this between tumtum and androgynous?
Right. So because an androgynous is both a male and a female. We don't. He's both. So we just don't know halachically whether he is a male or a female. But they both have the same shiloh. If they're both females, they're
A
potter.
tumtum just means they don't have
They don't have anything.
the outward signs, but it doesn't mean
Correct.
inside there or.
But I guess they didn't have sonograms back then. You're right. Ataka wonder nowadays with a tumtum, where you take a sonogram and see what's going on in there, right?
I don't know.
I don't know, that's a good
2021, they can
question.
identify as a toaster oven now. It doesn't make a difference, but the reality is like it's either the one or the other. So why I can't understand why.
No, it's not, because one tumtum could be a female and one tumtum could be a male. We don't know. By an androgynous.
No, but it's the same thing. Why?
No,
why
it's not. No, an androgynous an androgynous has both simanim. He's both a male and a female.
Yeah.
So Mamela, we only have a shiloh. We don't know.
A tumtum has to be either a male or a female. There's no.
Correct, but
Not
tumtum
gender
A,
fluid, and who cares? But who cares?
Correct, but tumtum A could be a female, and tumtum B could be a male.
And
We don't know.
androgynous A could be a female, and androgynous B
An
could be a
androgynous an androgynous have both simanim, both male and female. There's no question. They're both the same. Whatever status they have, they're the same. Either they're both males or they're both females.
Situationally?
Yes. Is an androgynous chayiv in tefillin? I don't know. I would think so.
So, Yaakov, the way you would define it is that one is a suffix in Metzias and one is a suffix halachically?
Very good. Akiva couldn't say it better than that. That's an excellent way to say it. Right?
What is the suffix in what?
A tumtum, Akiva is saying a tumtum is a suffix in Metzias. We don't know if it's a male or a female. We have no idea. Biologically, we have no idea. It's not a halachic issue. We just don't know. We don't know what's going on inside there. The skin is covered over. So we have no idea. Is there a male or female? An androgynous is a suffix in halacha. It's not a suffix in biology. Biology has both simanim. It's both. We just don't know halachically whether he, she, whatever it is a male or a female. But if they're both female, so they're potter. If they're male, if an androgynous is a male, then they're chayiv, so he could be mitzi. Right? But an androgynous can't be mitzi a regular person, because it could very well be that halachically the androgynous is a female. Right? But the truth be told is an androgynous should be able to be mitzi a female. Right? No? Because if the androgynous is a male, so a male could be mitzi a female. And if it's a female, so a female could be mitzi a female.
Yeah, but this price, we're not dealing with females anyway.
And a chanami, because females are potter and gansin. So comes out for those that don't like females. A female is less of a madrega than a tumtum and an androgynous when it comes to shofar.
Can somebody that's potter in something be mitzi the general klal, including females? Stam else being mitzi other people. If you're potter from it, can a female be mitzi another female?
I don't see why not. No.
A female could blow shofar for another female?
I never heard of anybody doing that.
I'm asking halachically. They're
I don't know. I don't know.
Can they make brachos and be yaitse another female?
1 second. We say it. They do it by the brachas of the shofar.
A female's being mitzi another female?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's the only
less
time
than
they're
it's a
able
whole
to.
diyun by the second blow of shofar blowings. It's a whole diyun whether one female should say the bracha on behalf of everybody or each one should say it on their own.
But usually there's men anyway, no, that are listening.
Yeah, but they're not usually making the bracha.
No. But then the man is really saying it for them, and they're listening.
Yeah. If you got a man that woke up late and he's hearing shofar for the first time after the davening, yeah.
Same guy that gets up early for the Vasikin minion for Shavuos.
But yeah, that guy, right? Anyways, so that's the difference between the tumtum and androgynous. Again, tumtum ain't mitzi loyas mina veloyas she'enim mina. Tumtum can't be mitzi not his same type and not the other type, meaning a regular. Androgynous mitzi has minoi, aval loyas she'enim mina. Androgynous could be mitzi his same type because it's the same suffix, but he can't. If have a loyas she'enim mina, but he can't do a different type because we don't know. So Misha Chesed Ben Chayrin, somebody who's a half slave, meaning again, one of his owners freed him and one of the owners did not. He can't be mitzi, not another chatzi avid chatzi mencharen, and not she'eina mina, because we don't know we don't know which half of him is who belongs to who, and etc. So therefore, he can't do anybody, right? Fine. So Amar Mar, Hakol Chayim B'Tkiya Shofar Kahanim Levim Yisroel. Kahanim Levim Yisroel Mechayev and Shofar. Pshita. If you're not going to make, if Kahanim Levim Yisrael are not Chayev and Shofar, so who is? So the Gemara says, no, Kahanim, it's the Kiddush is Kahanim. Because we might have thought, it says that it should be a day of Trua. Maybe only somebody who has a chiyuv once a year to blow shofar, which is Yisroelim. Bahani kahanim, but the kahanim hoyel is with tkiyas to kol hashana, since they're always blowing tkiyas every day of the year. They blow tkiyas to kahanim because of it's supposed to accompany karbonis. And they should blow with chatzotzos on the carbon oilers. So maybe you would think maybe they're not chayav in Rosh Hashanah because they blow the shofar every day anyways. Meaning only people that don't blow the shofar every day. So kamash malan. So therefore we say that no kahanim are chayav to blow shofar on Rosh Hashanah too. What are you saying?
Different mitzvah though. The mitzvah by karbonos is to blow. The mitzvah of Hashanah is to listen, to hear.
Correct.
How would I?
Correct.
Why?
Also, the halachas of the chatzotzos are not the same. Didn't we learn yesterday, the day before, chatzotzos is for different halachas?
Right, but that was really for the tinus. I don't know if that's different for the. I think they were blowing down. They were blowing.
That's just which one's longer, which one's shorter. They still blow shofar every whatever carbon.
Yeah. Yeah. So and a chanami, but it seems like because it's saying. I think the Gemara is coming from the angle of that's Yom Trua Yilachem. It should be a day of Trua for you. For a kohen, it's not a day of Trua. Every day is a day of Trua for the kohen. We're just basing it on what the pasuk says. Yeah, so the Gemara says, "Mi dami hasam chatzotzos v'hacha shofar." Right? That's there. It's chatzotzos, and here is shofar, which is sort of what David is asking. But Ella, so we say a different shot. Ella, it's we need a target. I don't mean a hayol b'tnan. Shabbat hayovel, the Rosh Hashanah, the Tkiya ula Birchos. Yeah. I lost the place. Right, we said this a few blot ago, that Yovel is equal to Rosh Hashanah for Tkiya and Birchos. So man the Isa b'mitzvahs hayovel. Whoever has Yovel, Isa b'mitzvahs Rosh Hashanah is in the mitzvah Rosh Hashanah. Bahani kahanim, these kahanim hoyel the less new b'mitzvah the Yovel, since they're not in the mitzvah of Yovel, because kahanim don't have any of the Yovel things. The Tanan kahanim v'luim meichrin la'olam. That when they sell something, it gets sold forever. Meaning, and v'goyel and la'olam, they could also get it back. Meaning they could always sell, whether it's before what do you call it, Yovel, middle of Yovel, after Yovel. They don't have any of these things. They could also get it back, even if they did sell it. They can get it back, right? So they obviously don't participate in Yovel. So since we compare Yovel to Rosh Hashanah, aim the mitzvahs to Rosh Hashanah, loy so the mitzvah Rosh Hashanah, they also shouldn't be chayiv kamash malan, that they are chayiv. Yeah, fine. Misha chetzev and chetzev and chayrin ain't a mitzvah loyas mina v'loyas she'enim. He's not mitzvah, not his min and not his min. So Amar Rav Huna la'atzmai mitzvah, but can he be mitzvah? I'm sorry, that's not how you read it. Hula atzmai mitzvah, right? But he himself, he can be mitzvah himself. Sounds like he only has an issue with being mitzvah others, but he himself, if he blows the shofar, he'll be yaitz. Why is it different that he can't blow for others? Because the half of him that's a slave might be mitzvah the half of the other person who's free, Even for himself, how could he blow shofar for himself? Maybe half of himself is the free half of himself. The enslaved half of himself is being mighty the free part of himself, which doesn't work. Right? He changed his mind. He can't blow even for himself. He can't even blow for himself. Fine. Tani Ahava, very interesting name, right? We don't have that name too often, right? It's a man. Ahava, right? Tani Ahava brother of Zera. Ahava, the son of Reb Zera, said, "Kol brachas kulon, all brachas afa pisha yatsa, even though you're already yatsa, mitzi, right? You can be, even though you're already yatsa, you can be mitzi somebody else." Which Rashi, right? What's the rule with this? The Rashi 6 lines up from the bottom. Sharei kol Yisroel haraven zeh b'zeh lemitzvos. Everybody in klal Yisroel is responsible, and Arev means a cosigner. Everybody in klal Yisroel is responsible as a cosigner for everybody else, right? So therefore, since even though I was already yaitz my shofar, but since you weren't, I'm responsible to make sure that you get the mitzvah. So therefore, it's as if I'm also chayiv. Meaning, really, once you're yaitz your mitzvah, how can you go be mitzvah somebody else? You already yaitz your mitzvah. They weren't. So we're saying no, because I'm responsible for my fellow Jew, for mitzvahs, Rashi points out. Right, for mitzvahs. Yeah, I'm responsible for my fellow Jew.
If I make Kiddush already, Friday night, I'll make Kiddush again to somebody else?
Yes, because it's a mitzvah, which this is going to be the Gemara's kasha in a minute. But yes,
If I made
anything for a mitzvah.
If I made a mitzi, I can make for somebody else again?
So let's wait till beis. We're going to get to that in a minute. We're going to get to that in a minute. Right? So, yes, he's saying all brachas kulon, even though you were yatsa, mitzi. Now, he doesn't mean here brachas in the traditional sense of brachas of shahakal or all that, because at the next line is chutz mi birchos halechem and birchos hayayin, except for the bracha on bread and bracha on wine. Shim lo yatsa mitzi. That if you were not yet yatsa, you can be mitzi somebody. V'im yatsa, but you've already yatsa, then ain't mitzi. You can't be. Now, this is bread and wine, Rashi says, is only an example. He means Birchos hanehnin. Birchos hanehnin, if you already made a bracha, you're not allowed to say a bracha for somebody else because you're not. There's no chiyuv there. There's no chiyuv, right? So the only reason why you have to make a bracha, Rashi says, because it's also to be nana from Adam Hazeh without a bracha. But since you have already made that bracha, you can't go make it on behalf of somebody else because there's no chiyuv for that person to make this bracha. It's a chiyuv for that person if the person decides to eat. So basically, if I'm in the middle of supper and I made all my brachas, and somebody comes in and says, I can't make a bracha now because my stomach hurts. Can you make a shahakal for me? You're not allowed to do it because there's no chiyuv there for him to have a bracha. It's only a chiyuv if he wants to eat. So don't eat, right? But seemingly, if somebody needs you to make a bracha on the lulav and esrog for him, then you would be allowed to, because that he's chayiv to make a bracha on his lulav and esrog, and you're chayiv to make sure that he takes the lulav and esrog. So therefore, you have part of the chiyuv along with him, even though you already did your chiyuv, right? But for food, it doesn't work. So
is that a bracha levatala?
Is it a bracha levatala?
This is what you told me about the guy with the lulav and esrog in yeshiva. About remaking the bracha with him.
Right. So there we said you could because it's a bracha mitzvah. Yeah. Is it a bracha levatala if you make it? That's a good question. I don't know.
How does this play out in Kiddush and Shul when the
exactly. So excellent. That's mamish the next line in the Gemara. So let's see. So Rava asked the question. Now on Amud beis. Birchos halechem shel matzah, right? Let's say you have to make the bracha on bread for matzah, right? Halachilas matzah and hamoitzi lechem in aretz. Birchos hayayin shel kiddush hayayim, and the bracha of yayin of kiddush hayayim. Now, why is it saying kiddush hayayim? Because kiddush by laila, that's part of kiddush of the mitzvah, so that's pashut. You're allowed to make kiddush for somebody. I mean, you have people that go around to make Kiddush for almanas or whatever it is. So they can go in there and they make Kiddush, and they don't even have to drink, because that Kiddush on Friday night is the Bayra Priya Government is part of the mitzvah. That's part of the mitzvah of you have to be Mekadesh the Yom, and part of that is making the Kaddish the Yom with wine. So that's no question that's called Birchos mitzvah, and you're allowed to make that bracha on behalf of as many people as you want, right? So, but what about Kiddush of the day, right? And what about the Hamaitzi Lechem and Aretz by matzah? Ma'al Kiven to Chayva, who since it's a chiyuv, so mapik, so you could be Maitzi them, right? Even though you already made Kiddush during the day. Haidoma bracha lav chayvehi. Maybe the bracha is not really a chiyuv, right? So, and meaning, because at the end of the day, the only reason why you're making the bracha is that you could make Kiddush during the day. So, is it a Birchos mitzvah or is it a Birchos hanehnin? What do you say?
Are we saying this even if you're yaitse already? Like, let's say matzah, you already ate your matzah and you're trying to be yaitse somebody else? Is that what the case is?
Yes.
So is this a riot to the Gra that there's a chiyuv mitzvah in every single eating a matzah?
Why? This is l'char the Seder night. This is talking about dafka the Seder.
You're saying the Seder night, everyone's masking every bite you eat is even after you eat your first kazais, you're still being yaitse mitzvahs. Even people are chaylik on the Gra. Or is it only the first
about somebody who wasn't yaitse? We're talking about for somebody who wasn't yaitse.
I understand that, but you were yaitse. So what are we saying? Keeping the chayva? It's not a chayva on you anymore.
No, it's a chayva on the other person.
So
since you're allowed to make a birchos achiyuv for anybody you want, as many times as you want. Shailus, is it a birchos achiyuv or is it a birchos hanehnin? If it's just hanehnin, then you can't make the bracha, right? So, saying that's what it is. So Kiddush hayom, yeah, I mean, because at the end of the day, the point of difference in Kiddush hayom and Friday night is that Kiddush hayom, all it is Bar Priya Gofen. There's no other bracha that goes along with it. It's just Bar Rosh Hakol for those that make it on schnapps, right? On a full cup of schnapps, by the way, none of the schnapps glass thing, right? So
full cup or full shot glass?
Full cup. I defer to parrots for this one, okay?
He's a machmir. I can't.
He is a big machmir when it comes to this, parrots. He's a big machmir. Yes.
Is there anyone more machmir than Chazon Ish? Let's see.
But anyway, so that's the question of the Kiddush during this. The Tashma, Dom Rav Ashi, Ki Havina Be Rav Papi. When I was by Rav Papa, have a Makadosh Lon, he made Kiddush for us. V'chi Hava Asi Arise Midabra. When the sharecroppers came from the fields, right? Have a Makadosh Lo, he would make Kiddush for them again, right? Now the question is, what are they doing in the fields on Shabbos? Yeah, so it must be that it was Friday night that it's talking about. Yeah. Right. So
didn't we have this before Rosh Hashanah and all of that? So
yeah, we had it a lot of times where they're not. Yeah, they weren't exactly running to get home. Right. So Kiddush Hayom, does that mean Kiddush during the day, or it means Kiddush Hayom meaning Kiddush? Right. So Pashtus says it means Kiddush Hayom, meaning not like I was describing it, that it's Kiddush Hayom. It's Kiddush. It's called Kiddush Hayom. Yeah. Now the question is, what about Kiddush Hayom, Taka? Right. So Mishna Brura says that it's even Kiddush Hayom, which is just Bari Priya Gofen. There is no other mitzvah. You can also be mighty as many times as you want, right? So because really, even though all it is a Birchos hanehnin. Kiddush during the day, all it is Birchos hanehnin. Kiddush during the day, the only reason why they said you make a Bar Priya Gofen or a Shahakal is because they wanted to give chashivas to the meal. That's the only reason but all it is a Birchos hanehnin. But the Mishnah Berurah says that this halacha would apply to not only Friday night, and not only by Pesach by night, but even during the day it would apply. Okay, fine. So Tana Rabbanan, a person should not make hamaitzi for guests unless he's eating with them, right? Because that's not a Birchos mitzvah, that's a Birchos hanehnin, right? Because that's all you're doing is saying the bracha on behalf of the guests. Of a pyrus who lebanov v'livnei beis, but you are allowed to break bread. That's where that phrase comes from. For the children and for the people in your house, right? In his house.
If this is the case, I'm sorry, if this is the case, why do we ask by Shabbos table if someone wants to make Kiddush for themselves, but we don't ask them to make hamotzi by themselves?
I'm not sure where all that minute comes from. I don't know. By the Hasidim, I think they do both. Hasidim, they do Kiddush themselves and hamotzi. I know a lot of Hasidim do even hamotzi themselves. So I don't know. I don't know exactly where that minute comes from. Anyway, so he's saying, but the balabas can have his kids in mind, his bnei beis in mind, right? Uba halal uva Megillah, and by halal and Megillah, right? Af al pisha yotza mighty, and there too, even though he was already yotza mighty, he still can be mighty others.
Right? What does that mean by halal?
He wants to read halal on behalf of his family.
Make the bracha again?
Oh, so that's the question. Does that mean the bracha, or just he could be mighty them in halal?
I mean, halal is just to heal him. What are you?
What? I mean, what's
halal is just to heal him. What's wrong with saying to heal him?
No, the question is, are you going to be chayiv? Are whatever the chayiv of halal is, are they going to be yotza that way? Right.
They're not normal.
But I would have thought that the pasha, the pshat here is ubahalal Megillah. Megillah for sure. That's a whole. Well, the truth is, Megillah, you're right, but Megillah is also just nach. Right. All it is nach. Yeah, whatever it is, but you can be. Yeah, you can make. When the pasha says you can make the Shulchan Aruch says. The Lashon Shulchan Aruch is which we do that, right? Megillah, a lot of people on the second Megillah, the man makes the bracha for. But although it's a big tumult, whether the same thing with shofar, who makes the bracha? By the ladies blowing, who makes the bracha? So we're knowing that the ladies make the bracha, not the men. The man blowing, and the same thing with Megillah, right? The ladies should be making the bracha, not the man, because of this issue. I think it's because of this issue. Yeah, but Zachar there's no bracha. Right, Zachar there's no bracha. Why there's no bracha? That's a different story. Right. So anyway, so he's saying that a person can make hamaitzi for his family for chinuch purposes. Right. That he's allowed to do. Right? Meaning basically the father, whoever is making the hamaitzi, so that, and he wants to make the bracha out loud so that the kids could learn how to make brachas. Yeah? Fine. Okay. Hadran Allah Ru Bezdin L'chaim to all those that make l'chaims.
Had I known earlier, Tiago, but unfortunately I didn't do the daf earlier today, but I would not have been sober.
I hear you. Okay, fine. Next parak. Yeah, so Yom Tov Shel Rosh Hashanah Shecholi is the Shabbos. So if Yom Tov Rosh Hashanah falls on Shabbos, the mikdash are you taken in the beis hamikdash you would blow. Avalai in Medina, but not in the Medinas. Mishachara beis hamikdash. Once the beis hamikdash was destroyed, his Yochanan ben zakai she taken b'chol malkum sheyesh by bezdin. He said that they should blow in any place that there's a bezdin, which we'll see in the Gemara exactly which type of bezdin, but for sure where the Knesset Gedolah were. Yeah. Now, why did he do this for? Because the Maisa, when Rosh Hashanah falls out on Shabbos, there's gonna be, if you don't blow in the beis hamikdash, you don't blow anywhere. So then the whole that year there's no shofar, right? So it was like a zikaron for the beis hamikdash. That's basically what it was. Which which also fits into a couple of weeks ago when we said that a year that there's no shofar on Rosh Hashanah because it's Shabbos, even though we said that Taisa says it's really an einus. So that's a bad omen for klal Yisroel. So Rabbi Yochanan and zakai is saying that we should blow it at least wherever there's a beis. He didn't say at any place that there was a beis. I'm sorry. Only in Yavneh, right? Which is where the Sanhedrin sat. So they said to him, no, it was in Yavneh and any place that there was a beis, which the Gemara is going to ask. This shita is the same as the first shita, right? And there was another reason that Yerushalayim was better than Yavneh, not a reason, but another area that it was better. Any city that could see Yerushalayim or could hear the voices from Yerushalayim, or was close to Yerushalayim, and was able to come within the Tchum, then Taikin, they would also be able to blow on Rosh Hashanah. That was on Shabbos, but Yavneh only by Bezdin, and that's it.
That's not like
another. What do you say?
That's not like the Tanakama. Tanakama says it's only in the Mikdash, not in Yerushalayim.
What do you mean? No, the first shita that says Rabbi Yochanan was Misakin and Bechol Malkum Sheyesh Bezdin.
Yeah, but does that first shita go with the first shita Be'etzim that it was only when the beis hamikdash was Kaim?
No, I think that's according to everybody. Rabbi Yochanan Zakai was Misakin on top of that. According to everybody, really, it shouldn't have been blown, only the beis hamikdash. Rabbi Yochanan Zakai came along, it was Misakin it. On that,
yeah, but
where was he Misakin?
What does it mean Yerushalayim?
Where it doesn't say Yerushalayim.
You say, isn't it meaning that when the beis hamikdash was Kaim?
Huh?
What does it mean? Yerushalayim.
Yes, when the beis hamikdash was still built.
Right. So the Tanakama was chaylik on that. The Tanakama says it was only in the beis hamikdash when it was Kaim. Of a leib in Medina, which Rashi says is Yerushalayim. He definitely didn't say anyone who could see the city of Yerushalayim.
I know, but I think it means outside of the outskirts of Yerushalayim. Those that
Rashi says loy Yerushalayim v'loy b'gvulin.
So gvulin, I think, yeah. So I think that's called. I don't know. I don't think this is being chaylik.
It sounds very different. Their mom is saying two different things. One says shekol ir sharayis Yerushalayim. All you have to do is see Yerushalayim in order to be able to blow shofar.
Right.
And the first part says only in the mikdash, not even Yerushalayim itself could blow on Shabbos.
Medina. Well, the thing. Right. So yeah. What is it? How does it go? Yeah, it has to do with the whole Yerushalayim. It has to do. How do we say it again? That it has to do with the Sanhedrin when they went out to Galus, when they left the beis hamikdash. Then it seems like they allowed it, even though there was still a beis hamikdash. But once the Sanhedrin were, I don't know if it's called exiled, but they had to leave the beis hamikdash. Then they started allowing it in Yerushalayim. I think that's basically what the pshat is. Otherwise,
even though there was no Sanhedrin, even though the Sanhedrin in Gaza wasn't even there at the time.
Yeah.
That's very interesting.
Yeah, that's what
it seems. Back in
Yerushalayim
should be more, but there's no Sanhedrin Agadol. There's like nothing there.
Well, I think no. For a while there was a Sanhedrin Agadol, just it wasn't in the. It was not what it wasn't in the Lishkas Hagazis. Right. Anyway, so that's what it was saying.
Taisus is chaylik. Taisus says it's talking about Rabbi Yochanan ben Zakai. The Eid.
Which Taisus are you talking about?
First Taisus.
Medina?
He asks the kasha. How the Ketani Kalir Shirai Shemas taken, but Hainu Lacher Korban should take away from Zakri.
Yeah, he's chalik on Rashi.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, so let's see the Gemara. So Minani Mili. So how do we know that you blow the shofar on that you don't blow the shofar on Shabbos? So Amar of Levi bar Chlachma, Amar of Chama bar Chanina, Kosev Echad Shabbos in Zichron Trua. It says on Shabbos it should just be a zichron of a trua, not an actual trua. It should just be a memory of a trua. Because of Echad Omer Yom Trua Yilachem, it should be a day of trua. Right. So what is it? So what must it be? Like Kasha can be Yom Teshuvah b'Shabbos. When it's Yom Tov falls on Shabbos, it should be a zichron for the trua. Can be Yom Teshuvah b'Chol. And once when the Yom Tov falls on Chol, when it's going to be an actual trua. So that's what the Gemara thinks now. So it's mamash and beferish that it's also midaraisa. So Amarabba imidaraisa. If that's the case, that it's also midaraisa to blow the shofar, the mikdash hechi takina. So then how can they blow the shofar in the beis hamikdash?
That's the
right?
shabbos.
It's a mikdash. No, but that's not a shvus. It's daraisa. Shvus is a derabbanan. Ain't shvus a mikdash is derabbanan. This would be if the Gemara, the way Gemara is saying it right now, it's a daraisa. So even a daraisa you can't do in the beis hamikdash. But olam malachi, it's not a malacha. It's not a malacha that you need a pasuk to exclude it. The Tana Devei Shmuel, kol malachas avodah leisasu. Right, we had this in Shabbos. You can't do any malachas avodah. Yotzes atkiya shofar. This excludes blowing the shofar, rediyas hapas, and taking the bread down from the wall. Back then, they like the way they make pitas. They would slap it against the wall of the oven. And it would be it was not a malacha. It took talent. It took talent to blow the shofar, and it took talent to get the bread down without burning it.
How are they allowed to shecht in the beis of English?
What?
How are they allowed to shecht in the beis of English?
Because karbonas tzibur are allowed to be shechted. Karbonas tzibur are allowed. Same thing. It's the raisa, but for the tzibur, for the carbons, for the tzibur, it's allowed. So you're going to say shofar is also tzibur, right? So, but that's what the Gemara is asking. But the Torah is saying not. It's giving it a dispense. If we're saying that you're not allowed to blow the shofar, then there's no pasuk that tells you in the beis hamikdash yes, but shchita is allowed.
Why does the Gemara assume that it's al malacha? Why doesn't the Gemara assume it's xeris akasav that you can't blow shofar on Rosh Hashanah when it's Shabbos? What does it have to do with malacha?
No, so that's the Gemara is assuming now that the reason why you can't blow shofar on
Shabbos,
you don't
even need a pasuk. Why do we even need a pasuk that we darshan that one in regards to Shabbos?
I think that's what the Gemara is saying for oid, right?
So
even if you say there's no pasuk and you want to say it's just a malacha, it's not a malacha, it's a chachma.
Right,
it's a chachma, it's not a malacha.
So then stam, I don't understand the kasha. It's just stam. Yeah, it's xeris akasav. That's the way it is. I understand his first go. What's his va'id? He's saying it's not a malacha. Shkayach, I know. That's why we needed a pasuk. Hagufa.
No, but meaning he's saying you don't need a pasuk. Meaning you're saying you need a pasuk to say that you can't do it on Shabbos. You don't even need the pasuk because it's not a malacha.
Why would you need the pasuk? If it's not a malacha, you need the pasuk to say you can't do it on Shabbos.
What?
If it's not a malacha, you would need the pasuk to say you still can't do it, even though it's not a malacha.
No. We're saying no, meaning if you're blowing it in the beis hamikdash, so if it's not a malachi that you need the pasuk to exclude it. No, I'm saying no, that's for I'm sorry, no, that was wrong. For Shabbos, right? You need a pasuk to tell you that you can't blow the shofar. That's what we're saying. Why do you need a pasuk to tell you? Right?
Is he just bringing a raya that it's midrabanan? Like, is that what he's trying to show?
Yeah. So truth is, I think you're asking Taisus Kasha Akiva. Adarab, right? Kasha Adarab. Imalacha la yitzrakra. Yeah, you're asking Taisus Kasha. Really asking Taisus Kasha. Okay, but that's getting a little late. So let's finish this and then But anyway, so Gemara is asking, what do you need? It's deraisa. How can you do it in the beis hamikdash? And if it's a malacha, why do you need a pasuk for? Which Tosfos asks Akiva's kasha. What do you mean you don't need a pasuk? It's not a malacha. So Elam Rabba midaraisa mishra shari. Really midaraisa, it's mutter to blow the shofar. For Rabbanon who the gazor be kidarabba, right? The good old gzeira the rabba. The amarabba hakol chayom t'kiyah shofar. Everybody's chayim t'kiyah shofar. Ve'ena kol b'kiyah b'tkiyah shofar. But not everybody knows how to blow a shofar. So gzeira shemi yitlenu b'yadav v'yelech etzel abaki l'el mahid. We're afraid that we're going to allow you to blow the shofar, since not everybody's an expert. They're going to go take it and go to a bucky to learn it. And then what's going to happen? They're going to end up carrying it in Rishus Harabim on Shabbos. I know time with the lulav, I know time with the Megillah. And that's the same reason why we don't take lulav on Shabbos, and why we don't, because you might take it to the Chacham, and why you don't read Megillah. Right? And then Tosfos, we had this Tosfos a few times. He says, what do you mean, Yavirenu Dal Ramas Rishus Harabim? Why don't we choshed that you take it from Rishus HaYachid to Rishus Harabim? Right? Why are we just worried about just carrying it Rishus Harabim? So Tosfos says you'll remember and you'll stop yourself from going to Rishus HaYachid to Rishus Harabim. Okay, but that's again the reason is that the gzeira of Shema Yavirenu Dal Ramas Rishus Harabim. Fine. So Mishachar beis hamikdash hiskan Rabbi Yochanan ben Zakkai. So when the beis hamikdash was destroyed, Rabbi Yochanan ben Zakkai was masagan. They should still continue to blow the shofar on Shabbos, where there's beis din. So Tanur Rabban Apam Achas Chol Rosh Hashanah Liyos b'Shabbos. One time, after the Sanhedrin already went to Golus, by Yukala Aram, Wisconsin, and all the cities went to Yavneh. Right, Rashi says it's talking about Yavneh, and they came to Yavneh to hear the shofar. So Rabbi Yochanan said to the Bnei Beseira, Niska, blow the shofar. Amrulai, Nidan, let's first decide whether we're allowed to, because it's not the beis hamikdash. So who says we're allowed to? So Amrulai, Niska, Ba'achar, no, blow, and then we'll hack about it. And then after they blew, Amrullah, they said to him, Nidan, okay, so now let's decide whether we did it correctly. Amrulahem, Kfar Nishma, Karen B'Yavneh. We already heard the horns in Yavneh, right? And we're not going to start questioning beis din. We don't want to disprove beis din. So therefore, we're not going to have a din about it, and we're just going to let it slide. So this is really a shtick that Rabbi Yochanan ben Zakkai pulled. Because maybe if they would have just had a shear to try and figure out whether they're allowed to blow shofar or not outside the beis hamikdash, they may have decided not to. So Yochanan ben Zakkai didn't want that. He felt very strongly that they should. Right? So he said, let's blow it, and then we'll discuss it. So they blew it, and then they said to him, let's discuss it. He said, we can't discuss it, because what happens if we come out that we shouldn't have blown it? So then it looks terrible for the beis din. So since then we don't want the beis din to look terrible, so therefore we're not going to judge it. And from then on, they were blowing the shofar outside of the beis hamikdash, wherever there was a beis din, right? Which is quite an interesting way of Rabbi Yochanan ben Zakkai going about doing this.
It's a backhanded way.
What do you say?
Backhanded.
Backhanded, yeah, mamish. I mean, he was the Gadol Adar. He decided we had to get this done. And even if the din would be not, which, okay, I don't even want to go down this road. You get into the whole das Torah. Sometimes the das Torah is not what the das Torah should be. Meaning, sometimes you have to go not what the Torah would dictate, what the halacha would dictate. Obviously, you have to be a big man to decide this. Right, you have to be very chashuv to have to decide this, but not always do things go according to the way the book says it. That's for lack of a better way of saying it. That's.
Yaakov, you want to share an example on that, Yaakov? You want to elaborate on that part?
I do not want to elaborate. I don't have anything specifically in mind.
So what do you mean? COVID, no davening, stay home, this and that.
There, maybe the Torah told you to stay home, Peretz. There are those that say we have to do not what the Torah says. We have to make a minyan anyways. I don't know. Anyway, but that's Rabbi Yochanan ben Zakkai decided he had to sort of make sure that this gets done in any way, shape, or form. Okay, so so the first and third opinions are saying the same thing. So Amrullah Hainu Tanakama. The Amrullah is the same thing as the Tanakama, right? That it happened in any place there was a bezdin. So let's say there was a temporary bezdin. So if there was a temporary bezdin, so that's the Machlokes between the first shita and the second shita. The first shita said any place where there's a bezdin, you can blow the shofar. Second shita was like, no, it had to be an established bezdin. Okay. Let's one more. No, that's it. Okay, we'll stop over here. All right. Fine. I'll put the all right. Thank you.
The old
Thank
Apple
you. Parrots, you're gonna give a rendition of this nigga now.
Well.
You're gonna give a rendition of this nigga. And I looked on Apple Music. I wanted to send it out, but
It's you look under Has concert.
put it on the chat. I don't know if the island
Which
knows
nigga?
Guess
I'm gonna try to find it.
Who?
Which nigga? Chiyadu shel Moshe?
Yes. I mean, the guy mamish fit it to the words perfect.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm finding it now on the Spotify.
All right.
Let's go from there.